Hello and welcome to another video from In3D Software. Today we're going to look at face frame furniture within imos iX 2021. So face frame furniture, for those who aren't familiar, is a type of carcass that has a frame around the actual front, and then the doors and drawer fronts are then inset and set flush to this. We have a lot of questions about how we set up this type of data within imos, and hopefully this is going to give you a few pointers on how to achieve your type of face frame. So if I just open up imos here, you can see we have the example already made, and I'm going to show you how I've made this and how you'll then be able to edit the data to create your type of face frame. So let's start a new drawing, and I'm going to go to the article designer, set my height of my carcass, width and depth. And at this point, I want to assign some design parameter rules which govern the gaps around my doors and drawers. So this rules gives me a fine control over tolerances in between doors and the frames, my construction rules, and an article category. I can then click top, bottom, left and right to get my four sides. I'll add in a back panel and change that to be a solid back panel, and change the trims so that they are long to the top and long to the bottom. I'll then go into my fixed shelf and say that this should be not a fixed shelf but a top shelf, which will allow me to assign a horizontal rail 150 millimeters from the top. If I click on tick, you'll see that this looks pretty much like a standard carcass already. Let's add the frame. So in here, I'll modify my product, go to the front, and then you'll see here I have a frame section that allows me to assign frames that have already been built. I'll quickly add all of these in, and then we'll look at the settings. So you can see in here that the frame doesn't look quite right, especially if I go into the construction mode. You'll see that the side panel here is actually running through past my frame, which is no good, so we need to change that. And this top part of the frame is running long to this style, so let's change those as well. This can be done in here and here. And then we'll go to the trim, and on the next part we'll say that that should be long. So here's my frame, and this is looking a lot better now. Let's have a look at the settings and how they've been configured. So if we go to the top part of the frame as an example, in here you can see we have a construction principle for a filler or a frame, and under the default settings I have a part definition, which is going to be used to specify my material. In this case, I have a variable that allows me to control what type of material. In this case, it's a piece of 22mm walnut. In here, I can then decide where I want my frame to be pushed. So in this case, it's pushing it to the inside of the carcass. And then what I've done is said that it should be long, as you saw previously, to those parts to then have it sit on front. We then have the ability to assign a variable to the width of the actual frame, and that then gives me control over each of those parts independently, so I can make them a little bit wider if I like. And then we have controls over the overlaps and the offsets and how far it's going to overlay the actual carcass itself if it was, for example, needing to be half overlaid or fully overlaid. We have an offset in here as well that moves the frame in and out of the carcass, and I also have a dowel connection, although you can use different types of connectors to mechanically or glue fix your frames together. In this case, I've set up one called dowel face frame, and the only difference between this dowel and the other standard dowel is it has a condition in here called part side, and when I look at the condition, what this does is say it's going to filter out any left or right hand sides, and that's because we want the frames to connect to each other and not try to connect to the side panel. So let's apply these. So that's how I've got my frame set up. Now we have a little bit more work to do on my doors and drawers. So let's go into the upper section. And in here, what I'll do is assign a side panel left and right in here. So you can see I've now packed that off, ready for my drawer. So I'll add in a drawer. And the type of drawer that I want in here is actually an undermount guide. So that's brought through my undermount guide in here, and that's looking pretty good. I can test this. Okay. So that's my drawer done. Next, in my lower section, I need an adjustable shelf. In behind, and then I also want my door. So I'm going to assign a door in here. And at this point, I'm going to have a connection scan that's going to fail because it's not going to know how to manage those hinges that are going to go around the frame. So let's just click OK on that for now. And it's brought through an onset door, which is no good. So let's change that to be an inset door. And I have one in here. Okay. That's looking a lot better. Now that I've got an inset door, if I just click tick on this, I can then switch into wireframe view, and you can see it's added in the hinge, but this isn't the type of hinge that I want. I want one that's going to have a larger or a deeper mounting plate to throw that hinge over to get around that hinge. So I'll perform a connection scan on the entire product. And then on the hinge, I can then choose the type of hinge that I want from the system. So what I'll do is I'll just click on this button here and bring through my face frame mounting plate, which is the deeper mounting plate, as you can see here. That looks a lot better. So now that we've got our frame and our material set up, let's have a look at some of the variables that we can use. So I'll go into my article related variable in here, go to my kitchen basic data for the carcass, and in here I'll choose that this is a matching walnut carcass maybe. So let's find walnut within the list. 18mm particle board walnut to match my solid wood frame on the front. And then let's go to the construction, sorry, for my face frame. And you can see in here I've got my material set as a solid wood walnut, and I can then change my bottom rail in here to be a little bit deeper if I want. There we go. So the next stage is to then change my doors and my drawer fronts to be a shaker style. So please stick around for the second part of the video where we cover off multi-parts for multiple style shaker doors. Thanks for watching.